And by the way, let me kind of share with you what Vinny did. And Vinny's worked enough with foresters that never take like the first person's judgment of what they can do, or if you have a policy or someone has a policy with foresters and they want to convert it, they're going to, I call in to find out the initial, what they say, and then I'll find someone else to talk to later in the day and catch someone else and have them confirm or deny what the first person said. And what you can also do with foresters, if you get a decline on someone that just doesn't make sense, like they're taking a medication for a particular condition. Now that medication would be declined if they're taking it for another condition, and then foresters out of hand, without even reading your application, will decline the client. But if you call back in and said, hey, the agent notes they're taking it for this issue, not that issue, they'll reverse their decision. So all these other little underwriting things too, that you can call in and fight for your client, say, hey, please consider blah, blah, blah. And many times they will overturn that declination. And you guys know with foresters, all the declines and withdrawals work against you because they track to the nth degree your placement and persistency, right? So I'm not anymore wanting people to get started with foresters. I want to get them started with CFG first because I want them to make mistakes on a company. They care about it, but not like foresters. Like they won't fire you after they track you for 6 months. And when you're new, you're going to make mistakes anyway. Unfortunately, with New York, we don't have that choice. So New York, you really got to be on your game when it comes to underwriting. But I'm going to show you kind of how I've revamped the bootcamp website so you can see where I'm kind of focusing new agents' attention. But now, Vinny, your placement of persistency has been pretty good with foresters, right?
I'm at about 80% placement and about 90% persistency.
Yeah, that's, oh gosh. That's pretty darn good, gang. The best person in my hierarchy, Carolyn Rollin, she's at 90 and 90. And so it can be done. It can be really, really good. And Vinny's numbers are really, really good. He's learned their underwriting, so he doesn't try to stretch someone into a product that is borderline. He usually opts for the one that he's more certain that they're going to get underwritten on. So he exercises really a more of a conservative approach with each client. You know, I'd rather, right, Vinny, I'd rather take a shot. I'd rather take a layup than doing a 30-foot shot in basketball because your percentages are higher, especially when you slam the ball. You know, your percentages are higher than if you had to, cast it out from 30 feet, so.
Yeah, I absolutely do my due diligence when I look at a client before I recommend a product that based on what they tell me, the times that I do get declines are generally things that come up that were not disclosed or I would not have gone down that road for that client.
Yeah.
And they do, people do forget, it's not necessarily intentional. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they think they're going to slip one by. Even though I tell them they can't do that. You can't fool an insurance carrier.
Yeah.
I actually have, I've gotten, out of all the business I've written in the last 3 weeks, I've only got 2 that I'm being challenged on right now. I actually have 4 that were issue paid that didn't show up on the hierarchy board.
Oh, wow.
14,000. So I'm going to be about 19,000 on the next one. And that doesn't include this app, obviously. That's going to be something for April.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do make sure, that I'm putting the client in the right product, that they're going to qualify for it, because it doesn't matter what you submit. It's what gets approved and issued and you get paid for. And obviously you can't help the client if you're not putting them in the right product. So
how powerful is it?
I do pay particular attention to that.
Yeah. Tell us how much underwriting helps when you talk to them for underwriting risk assessment. How well does that work for you?
Well, if I'm not sure, based on my own assessment of what they've given me and my due diligence with the underwriting standards, if there's any question whatsoever, I will contact underwriting for support, give them a scenario, and they will come back. And they can't give you a definitive answer necessarily, but they will give you a ballpark, or they'll give you some advice as to how to submit it. And the other thing is, I try to do all of my applications, if possible, non-medically, because medical, full medical, I've got two of them still sitting out there from last year, November and December. We're waiting for doctor reports, and it's never ending. They're extremely difficult to get issued.
My gosh.
So I do try to stay non-medical as much as possible. And I will only go full medical if a client does not qualify for non-medical, or they want a higher amount than they're eligible for non-medically, and they insist on doing that.
Yeah.
So the two that I have that I wrote recently, we'll say recently within the last 6 months, are still sitting out there. All my others have been non-medical, and I've gotten the majority of those approved and issued. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's man, great advice. So what are some of the things you do or say in the home to get the client to tell the truth? A lot of people suffer from believing the client first time around, or they ask the questions very mamby-pamby. Like, there's a way to ask a question to get the client to say no. How do you get a client to tell the truth?
Well, I mean, I'm very straightforward when I'm sitting with my clients. I pretty much tell them, in order for me to help you, you got to help me help you. You got to tell me everything, even if you think it's not significant, or it's not a big deal, or you're in great health. Everybody thinks they're in great health. The insurance company has to think you're in great health. So we need to tell them everything. The more we disclose, the less questions they'll come back and ask. And I said, you cannot fool an insurance carrier. These companies have been around for 100, 150 years, 170 years. And, everybody that's tried to slip something by this point, they know all the tricks and whatnot. They're going to see it in your prescription history. They're going to see it in your medical information bureau. Let's make sure we capture everything correctly and to the full extent of what it is. And we'll go from there. We'll see what they say when they do their underwriting review, and if they come back and ask for more, we'll give them that information. But you can't leave anything out. And I usually tell them, I've had clients that will sit there and look at me right in the face, look at my eye, and say, "I have nothing wrong with me, and I take no medications." And I'll say, "Is that so?" And they'll say, "Yes." And I'll say, "You understand that they're going to find out, and that you need to tell me everything, even the littlest detail may make a difference." "No, I have nothing wrong whatsoever. I take no medications." And if they insist on that, I'll go ahead and submit the application, and generally I'll get a decline back. And I'll tell them, I'll call them up, and I'll say, "Hey, listen, you told me you had nothing going on. The insurance carriers declined you. They found this, this, and this in your prescription history." Well, I didn't think that was important. I said, "Well, that's why I took the time to tell you that it's important, that you need to tell me everything, even though the smallest thing could make the difference." So, you can only help people that'll allow you to help them, that'll give you the information and help you help them. So, if you've got any doubt, if you ask the question 2 or 3 times and they still say nothing, and you got to try and help them. But if you have a gut feeling that they're not telling you the truth, you got to push them a little more and try and get anything you can get out of them, because it's going to come back, and they're going to challenge it, and they're going to rate or decline the client depending on the situation. And that's not anything that's going to be helpful to the client or to you, or the insurance company. Nobody wins when that happens. So, I try my best to get them to disclose everything up front, and you can only go by what they tell you, but the more time you spend on explaining that, the importance of that to them, the more likely you're going to get all the information disclosed. So
Absolutely, dude. I couldn't have said any better. By the way, this is after Vinny spent time developing the bond report and trust with a client. He could spend an hour doing that part first before he gets in to taking care of them with the insurance. there's a trust level that he develops so that when he says that, they trust that he really is out for their best interest. Sometimes clients think that they got declined by this company. They feel like, okay, well, maybe I told them too much. I'm going to try this guy who called me up. And when this guy shows up, I'm only going to disclose this much information. And so the soliloquy that Vinny goes into tells them, hey, don't lie. That's the essence. And he's doing it in a very gentle way to make sure and emphasize that, help me help you. It sounds like a Jerry Maguire movie, right? Help me help you. So gosh, no truer words have been said. So please, man, follow Vinny's advice. He's a man that gets out there, gets after it. He's learned from his experience. So y'all use his hindsight as your foresight. Like I've said before, let his hindsight be your foresight. So you'll minimize your learning curve on the placement and persistency side. So man, great job, Vinny. You're doing great. Like, keep rocking, bro. Good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Alex. The one other thing that I'll say about that
Please.
is also to ask, have you ever done a full medical application for an insurance carrier? Because so many clients have done some lab work or whatever with an insurance carrier, and then they'll not go through with it for whatever reason, and they'll apply again, and you try and put them through non-medically, and those MIB codes are going to come up and haunt you. They're going to, you're not going to get that application issued. That's where I usually have some challenges when they don't tell me, and I put the application in, and then all of a sudden the MIB codes come up, and oh yeah, I did apply. That's right, I forgot I applied to so and so, such and such and time, and once you understand that they did a full medical, you have to expect that you're going to run into some bumps in the road with MIB codes because that's generally what's going to happen. They're going to find something. So yeah, that's an important part of it as well.
Vinny, explain to the new people what the MIB is, the Medical Insurance Board.
Well, the Medical Information Bureau is pretty much it's like a repository for insurance carriers where they will see all the information that you disclose about your health to an insurance carrier, and they'll see any your health insurance. They'll see if tests were ordered and things like that. So they could tell you had an MRI in such and such a day, and you applied to such and such a carrier, in 2016, and these MIB codes are in your chart and what in your report. So I just actually got an email on one of the cases that I had written over the last 3 weeks that they cannot resolve the discrepancy between what was on the application and the MIB codes. So that client now has to go back and get a copy of their MIB report and supply that to foresters, and then they'll go back and review that. And if they feel that there's a discrepancy, that it's not accurate, they have to then challenge that with the carrier that put that in there and go back and have that corrected with the MIB and the carrier that put that out there. So there's a lot involved, and generally when that happens, that application goes south on you. Most clients don't want to take the time to go and do that. And even if they do, it's very hard to get that corrected because the insurance carrier that put that in there doesn't really have any. They're not going to make any money. They have nothing to gain by doing that. It's already a done deal. They didn't take the application for whatever reason. It didn't go through, and they generally have moved on, and they're not interested in going back. There's no money in it for them. So it's very hard to get this corrected once this happens. I've not had one that I've been successful with in getting it corrected, and like I said, most of them will not even get the report. Just like, okay, they throw their hands up, we're done. So yeah, the MIB is tough, and when they do a full medical, that's it's like opening a can of worms, and just they're going to find something in there, and they put these codes in. We have some carriers here in New York that are notorious. That just about all of my declines come from MIB codes from one or two carriers in New York. They put everybody through a full medical. Oh, it's okay. We're just going to, stick your finger a little bit. We're going to take a little blood and They lead people to believe that they're going to get this wonderful preferred plus rate that's they're never going to see. And then they come back and they rate them or decline them, and they ruin their insurability. So it's a tough situation when you're dealing with the MIB. Those generally don't go through.
It's terrible.
So
And all of us have an MIB data. So you actually go to MIB.com and you can request your one free request. Otherwise, you got to pay for it. But you're allowed one free one. So you can actually log into their website and make a request for your own MIB report and see what's in there. That is an open repository for all insurance companies, health insurance, life insurance companies. So when you are applying for health insurance, they check the MIB. And, I don't even know that you signed anything that would allow disclosure. I mean, it's there, so you got it. The other thing that they have on you is your prescription history. So carriers can look at your prescription history for the last X number of years, and they'll see every medication that was prescribed to you, whether or not you take that medication. So that's one thing, like you get declined if a client was prescribed the medication even though they never took it. Like the popular one is when someone goes to an emergency room because they had a heart problem. They don't totally diagnose them. They stabilize them and they realize, hey, you're okay. We're going to prescribe to you nitro, and why don't you go back to your heart doctor and get checked out on this? Even though the person never had to take nitro, it shows that they are prescribed nitro. And nitro is a mega serious heart medication that you stick on your tongue if you're feeling like you're having a heart attack. And even though they really maybe ought to have not got that prescribed to them, it'll show up on their report and then it declines them. So when you ask the question on medications, you have to add that part. Okay, what medications have been prescribed, whether you've taken it or not? Like if you've gone to an emergency room and were prescribed medications but never took them, we need to disclose those. So we need for you to be real accurate and remember, anything that you were prescribed. Very important thing. And then motor vehicle report, they will pull someone's motor vehicle report and look at their motor vehicle history the last 5 years to see if there's any speeding or violations or how many, and you can get declined on motor vehicle report too. So we are now in the digital age where everybody and their brother knows something about you. The Russians know something about you. So like seriously, I'm not kidding. So you got to really play defense. It's not all about offense, which is writing the app. It's playing defense too, making sure that you're not going out there like a puppy dog, writing up everybody and believing everything they say. You got to go in with a very critical eye when you ask questions, and you need to ask the question slow so they understand what you're saying. I find that when I ask it slow and I read and say every condition, heart attack, angina, chest pain, I'm very deliberate in how I ask those questions so they can, capture. And I tell them, hey, a yes answer is not necessarily adverse to you. We just need to be as accurate as possible. So I don't want you to think if you say yes, we just need to disclose everything. So I put them at ease. Now there is a section, the Part A section on whole life, that will decline them on that product. We can pivot to guaranteed issue whole life to get them into a product. So what you're saying really is true. We can go to another product. So, anyway. Great job, Vinny. This is like great information, especially if you're new, to minimize the wasting your time going out there and thinking that you got it in the bag when, in fact, you did not, because you didn't do your due diligence, you didn't ask questions, you didn't check with underwriting. So anyway, dude, that's rocking, man. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Always appreciate sharing any insights I can with the team.
Keep rocking, buddy. Your example is just fantastic. So awesome.
Thank you.